Welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where we love to educate and inspire the community with topics around living healthier, feeling more balanced and living a life we love. And today we have Dr Zara Celik back with us, our integrative health and wellness expert. And the topic today is body dysmorphia. So welcome, Zara.
Thank you.
What is dysmorphia?
Well, dysmorphia comes from the word morphia, which means form. So usually that can occur in individuals where they are comparing themselves to somebody else. Usually they are infatuated with someone. When it comes to body dysmorphia, they're comparing their body parts to someone else. Or it could be also a comparison of intellectual capacity. They could be comparing themselves to say, oh, they're smarter than me. That's a form of dysmorphia. Or they're richer than me, or they're wealthier than me, or they've got better family than me. So they're all dysmorphia, but today let's focus on and talk about body dysmorphia. And in that, usually people comparing their body parts to someone else. I recently had a lady that I was actually talking to, and she went through a procedure, a cosmetic procedure, because she thought that the person that her boyfriend was actually following and watching on social media was more attractive than her. So she was looking to see what her boyfriend was actually, looking at in that individual, which was on social media, by the way, and in overseas. So she then thought, okay, well, she compared then her to herself. That was on social media. And she then took the step and went and did a cosmetic procedure because she was comparing her body part to this individual on social media. So I asked a question to her. I said, where have you perceived yourself having that form? She's very intelligent. And then she looked into it because I made her aware. She wasn't able to see that not only she also perceived herself attractive in the same form as the model was on social media, but also she had it in different forms, which was her intelligence, which was her career, which were her business and her education. And the minute she saw that, and she had that reflected awareness, because I made her aware by questioning her, she was able to accept and love her body for who she was, rather than comparing herself to some other person and try to become her, which she wasn't going to become her, right? She's an individual.
Yeah, if I may. And the other thing I just clicked with me is, of course, online you see these people and they're all, it's all, you can't tell exactly what they look like. Let's put it, what is it, Photoshop or whatever.
That too, yes.
It's being done all the time.
Exactly, and especially with our teenagers, right? They're sort of going through a stage in their life trying to work out who they are, and also they're comparing their body particularly to other people, and they want to become like them. I just want to tell them, embrace and love who you are and have reflective awareness about where do you display that form. And if it is the body, there's also a side of you, you're not just like disliking your body completely, not disowning it. I'm sure there are parts that you're also owning. So go to the parts that you're owning where you feel confident and comfortable and embrace that. And that could give you that confidence. So then you're not comparing yourself to others. And with, again, social media, like you said, it's not always the truth and the true reflection of things. And I want people to be aware of that as well, because that's huge. And not only in teenagers, I also have, a lot of women, mature women, even the language that they use about their body. I hate that about my body. The minute they do it, I pick up on that. It's like, where have you actually loved that part of you? So that's quite significant. And then immediately they go to their mind, the subconscious, and get into balancing the mind within themselves. So then they create the equity between themselves and the other person that they're comparing it to. So usually it's the comparison. They're trying to be like somebody. It's the comparison of things where the individual then starts having dysmorphia. Because I'm not fit enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not attractive enough, or my size isn't just like her or him. So that's where it all comes in. But once we create the that equity between the individual outside of us and ourselves, and the balance within our mind, that's where we actually overcome dysmorphia.
And does that then also, with the body dysmorphia, does that lead into things like anorexia and
It can, absolutely. So that's when, having that conflict within. That's why I said balancing the mind. So when there's that conflict, they will want to be like, oh, she's skinny, I'll just won't eat, or I will just, or bulimia is another one. They eat, they throw up, they always have that, up and down in the weight. They're always constantly comparing themselves to somebody else. And of course, yes, it can lead to anorexia and bulimia, for sure.
And so how does it, you've sort of said a bit about how it plays out, I suppose, but how does it then, how do you actually work with people with that to help them to overcome it or to help to feel better about it?
Yeah, great question. So I will encourage people, stop the minute they see they've infatuated with somebody and they've got this fantasy going, to stop and say, well, what is it exactly I'm admiring in that person? And where have I that displayed in me? Where do I have it also in my own form? In my intelligence, apart from the the looks, or even the looks, they may be comparing their the fitness of the arm, but see where else you are fit. They may be comparing the stomach area to somebody else. Well, go to form and find in other form. What part of your body do you love and own? So find the form that you love and the form that you're confident and comfortable with. So you dissolve the dysmorphia. For not everybody loves every single body part, but there are things that we really like and we just accentuate that and we bring that forward and we look at that and feel comfortable. And there's other parts where we may not feel very comfortable, but then there's that whole balance even in the body, and I want people to be aware of that. Even with our body parts, there's that balance. And once we become aware, say, hey, yes, I may not like my legs very much, but I love maybe my face or my hair or my eye, just giving an example. So I like people to find their own form and see what they're admiring in other persons actually within them once they find it.
And Zara, what advice would you give our viewers as a number one, a first thing?
Sure. So be aware of the language that you're using. Are you self-critical? That's a common one, right? And then when that creates the equity in the mind. So you are actually balancing your own mind through the thought process and the language that you have, and also contributing to the biochemistry of the mind. The other thing is when you catch yourself being infatuated or admiring someone so much, stop immediately and ask yourself the question, what is it exactly I'm admiring in them? And find it in your own form. Where have I admired myself? And find your form. And that will help you to create equity between you and the individual that you're admiring or infatuated with.
Great. Thank you, Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and body dysmorphia, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break. Stay tuned. After the break, holistic coach Steve Hall is talking about our relationship with fear. Welcome back. And today we have Steve Hall back with us, our holistic coach. And part of the series in Living a Life of Value and Meaning, today's topic is our relationship with fear. So welcome back, Steve.
Thank you, Linda, and thanks for the introduction.
Our relationship with fear.
I know, right? A lot of people don't like fear, and I can well understand that. But we've been talking about how to love yourself more, how to connect with your values and your purpose in life. And fear is an important part of that, because there's people want to do things, they want to improve their life, they want to get better at what they're doing, and then they find something stopping them, and it's quite often the relationship with fear. So I thought it's worthwhile to explore that a little bit and find out what is our relationship with fear and how does that impact us.
With that in mind, how do we create a better relationship with fear?
I'll share a little bit about what I imagine in my own mind when I'm thinking about fear and when I'm realising the effect it's having on me, right? So I imagine my emotions, I like listening to them now, something that I learned along the way in my life. It's like, listen to your emotions, what they're telling you. Don't ignore them or try and push them away. So I imagine in my own mind, when I've got a dilemma or something, or I've got an emotion expressing itself, I imagine there's a boardroom, like a boardroom table in my mind with a chairman and all that, and the emotions are sitting at the table. And the emotion that is quite often the loudest is fear. And one thing that I've understood about fear, it's sort of like fear has anxiety itself. And the less my self-belief is turning up, the less self-belief I have in myself, the noisier my fear gets. So it's like my fear is present when I'm not, and learning who I am, what I value, and taking control of my life and responsibility is what has the most effect on fear. It's sort of like my fear calms down, and then it becomes just more like a warning, like a pet dog. I often find, my fear is a lot like a pet dog. It'll bark at something if it gets scared, right? And my job, if my self-belief is big enough, if I'm there, if I'm present, my job is, what's up, boy? Acknowledge that it's spoken and give it a pat and go, it's all right, I got this, I'm here. And it'll go, oh, thanks, you've noticed, you've listened to me, and it'll sit down. And that's what fear's like for me. It's like I've recreated what it means. It no longer controls me. I'm not scared of fear myself, because I realise now it's just trying to get my attention so I can be aware of something. And that's the relationship with fear that we all need to understand, so we can build our self-belief, and then we can achieve what it is we really want to achieve in our life. The things that we love, our mission, our values, our purpose, all of that is possible if fear is coming along for the ride and not calling the shots.
How would it tie in with that? How would we break free, really, of that fear that's...
See, fear is ever present, and it's meant to be. It's quite a useful emotion. It's not something that we need to overcome or overpower. A lot of our life, that's our first thing that we want to do with fear, is we want to stop it. We want to push it down, push it away, get away from it, distract ourselves. And this is what we find when we try and pursue what we love. We'll get distracted and we'll find that we can't achieve it. And people will say, why am I procrastinating? Well, fear can often be the cause. Fear gets too strong and we're not listening to it. We're trying to suppress it. So it's very important we get a good relationship, not just with fear, with all our emotions, but fear is a really important one to start with, because it's the one that's loudest. It wants reassurance most. So we have to give that reassurance to ourselves. Take a deep breath. We've talked about breathing before.
Oh, wonderful.
Deep breath, and it'll send a signal to ourselves and our emotions, I'm okay, I've got this. And then you can have that conversation with your emotions, fear being one of them.
So for our viewers, what would be the best advice from today with their fears?
It would be the breathing technique to start with, and start reflecting on, what do I really want here and what's really worrying me? So you take a deep breath in and you listen to what fear's expressing to you. What are you really worried about? If you write it down, is a good way. Just get to the point. What is that thing that I'm worried about? Because whatever the fear is telling us, we try and attach to everything and we start worrying about way too much. But when you write it down, you have to become quite specific, and you'll find that this might only be one thing, and it stops it bouncing around and like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger as it rolls downhill, and you can't go to sleep at night, it keeps you awake. So writing it down, becoming quite specific with what it is, and you go, actually, that's a little bit, it's good. Now I can focus on that. I'm not getting distracted, I'm not catastrophizing it, it's not getting out of control. Yeah, okay. And then you can sort of speak to your emotion. I've got this. Yeah, no, I can do that, and I want to do this, whatever it is. Like it might be giving a talk in front of people. I want to do this. And then your fear will it'll settle down. It'll still be there, but you'll have a good relationship with it. You just go, what am I really worried about? And if I have to write down, I'm nervous about what people will think when I'm talking to them, I'll see how that's nothing to get over dramatic about. It's not the end of life, the sky's not going to fall in. And that puts it in context for me. And I go, I've got this. Yeah, no, it's all right. And I reassure myself. And then I go, this is something I want. And honestly, the whole feeling changes. And I've really developed this technique to a point where I don't really worry about that sort of stuff anymore. So that's what it's all about. And it's connecting us with our values, what we love in life, and accepting all our emotions. It's really good.
Thanks so much, Steve. And for more from Steve and living a life of value and meaning, and specifically your relationship with fear, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll be back with another guest and another topic. Stay tuned. After the break, health coach and author Kaveri Sekera is talking about food marketing. Welcome back, and for our next guest we have Kaveri Sekera, a certified health coach and author, and she's here today talking to us about food marketing. So welcome, Kaveri.
Thank you, Linda. It's great to be back.
Food marketing, Kaveri, what is the impact of food marketing?
Thank you, Linda. So we're actually subconsciously primed from a very young age when it comes to food. For example, when you think about Christmas, you think about Santa. You think about Santa. Children associate, Santa with pleasure because it's presents. Now Santa's colors are red and white. Now, can you think of another fizzy drink company that also uses red and white in their marketing? Now, that is a level of priming that we are used to without being aware from a very young age. I can give you another example. If you look at how food is marketed to us, low fat, skim milk, no fat. That's as soon as you go into the supermarket aisle, you look at these things and you think, okay, I'm trying to be more healthy, so maybe I should make one of these choices. It's right in front there. It's like really well advertised. It's colorful. But when you actually look at it, if you look at the back of the packaging, where the ingredients are for that particular item, you might actually find that there's so much of processed ingredients in that. There's sugar in that, which is hidden in different names. So actually, are you aware that there's actually 65 names or more of sugar? So sugar may not, so you might think you're making a really good choice by making a low fat or no fat, but that's being replaced by processed food, or worse, with things like sugar and in its different names. So you might actually think you're making a healthy choice, but actually you're not. And that is one of the impacts of food marketing. So another example is when, say, you go to a restaurant. Have you ever actually wondered why in the restaurant they give you free bread as soon as you walk in? What happens with free bread is that it's got a lot of junk sugars. And when you actually eat it, your body actually gets more hungry, not less. Have you wondered why you're never full after eating like 3 of those pieces of bread? The reason is we're not getting our nourishment from that food. It is not nourishing. It actually makes you more hungry. What happens when you're more hungry? You're going to order more. And that is all part of the subconscious priming that we're conditioned to from a very young age. So it's really important that we're aware of it, and we are educated on how to make better decisions and vote with our money better.
And so why is it important to know these food industry of tactics, food marketing tactics?
As I said, it's really important that we educate ourselves and be informed about the very fact that just a couple of things that I've just mentioned to you. Because if you don't, you're going to go ahead and make those decisions thinking you're making a healthy decision, a healthy choice, but actually you're not doing anything positive for your health. In fact, it's probably more detrimental because it's so much away from the natural diet. So I have a great story. I have a woman in her 50s. I know a woman in her 50s, and she was morbidly overweight and very unhappy, had a lot of pain due to arthritis, and just basically lacked basic mobility that we would expect to have. Very unhappy with her quality of life, didn't have any energy, couldn't even go up and down her own stairs. And she learned a few of these food marketing tactics that I just shared with you, and overall changed her diet to a more natural human diet. and she released about like over 30 kilos. And she's now got like, you know, like she's moved like a spring chicken, and she basically has no pains, got rid of all her arthritis pains, and she's able to dance and do the things that she's passionate about. When I look at her socials, I'm like so happy for her, because she's just an overall happier, healthier person, and she can actually move up and down and live her life. Now that's what you want. That's how you know, and those are some of the benefits of, you know, being aware of this and changing your buying behavior, knowing what you know now.
So Kaveri, how can we make better choices when we are shopping for food?
Great.
And some tips for our viewers.
Great. So the first thing that I would recommend in this topic is to get familiar with the ingredients on the item that you're buying. So I'm not talking about the nutritional information here, guys. I'm talking about the actual ingredients in the package that you're purchasing. Tomato ketchup is you would think has tomatoes in it, and in a couple of other ingredients, but the second largest ingredient in tomato ketchup is sugar. And you know, we all know that sugar is addictive and causes cravings. So if I were you, I would look at buying an organic version of that, which has no sugar, or even make your own. So ingredients, look at the ingredients and make better choices. You could get familiar with the 65 names of sugar. There's over 65 names of sugar. So you might actually think you're buying an item that has no sugar in it, but it just may not be called sugar in the ingredients list. It may be called fructose or maltose or corn syrup. All of those are names of sugar. And it's important. I would recommend that you get really familiar with that. Get familiar with the 65 names of sugar, and always check your ingredients on the item that you're purchasing. The other thing you could do is limit things which have got refined sugar in it. So if you know that particular item, so if you know there's soft drinks, or you know, if you look at the ingredients of soft drinks, I mean, you'll find that just doing that, you will be like shocked at what all things have got added sugar in it. Things that you don't think, for example, pasta sauce might have added sugar in it. So get familiar with the ingredients in everything you buy. Understand what those 65 names of sugar are. You could also make better choices if you want sugar. I would recommend you have fruits, natural fruits and honey, and you meet your sugar craving from those products. Even things like grain have got a lot of junk sugars in it. So I would recommend reducing that as part of your diet as well, because that actually causes cravings as well. And dairy also is something that I recommend that you limit.
Well, thank you, Kaveri, for that. And for more information on Kaveri and food marketing, and also for that 65 names of sugar, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And for now, we'll leave it till next week and be back with more amazing guests. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.